Alright, hello guys, welcome. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Let me make sure my audio's working well. I'm a bit far away from the mic. Okay, I think everything's good. Alright, hey, what's up guys? Hello. Welcome. Alright, we'll be waiting for another 30 seconds here. Let's make sure everyone gets the notifications. Alright, hey, thank you guys so much for the likes. Awesome. 5 likes. Awesome. Okay, well, welcome everyone, welcome to tonight's stream. As you guys can see, we're going to be talking about ticker symbol IREN and go over its technicals and fundamentals and give you guys kind of a broad perspective on why or why not IREN deserves to be $100 per share or over $100 per share. Okay, or excuse me, it could be either 100 or it couldn't reach $100 per share, right? So before we dive into this company and the chart here, I want to go over specifically what I wrote from the report, since again this was in the list or the momentum mentions list in this week's very long CFO Swinger Watch Report. And if anyone is watching this stream or the replay and you guys don't know what the report is, just simply look at the bottom of this video, the description box, and you guys will see the second link down below, and you guys can click on it and that will answer your questions as to what the CFO Swinger Watch Report is. Alright, so that is something that you guys should be doing on your own time, but for now let's take a look at what I wrote here. So let me just go over this verbatim. Okay, so this is one of the many high and tight Momo bull flags that are beginning to form. Now I will get down to the technicals of this one and how you can trade this Momo bull flag, but I will not do it for the rest. That'll be shown in the rest of the list, as it is the same trade thesis. And again, as you guys can presume and assume that the tickers that were in the rest of the list in the report, which I won't be showing tonight in tonight's stream, have similar looks and setups on the technical perspective. Okay. And then I said, first off, many tickers with a developing Momo bull flag like this one on IREN have to wait a few days, 1 or 2 days, for the flag to complete forming. And that's because the daily 10 SMA red line has to catch up a little bit, at least less than 10% from the closed price. But as long as the flag continues to form tight, sometimes inside day candlesticks, the entry will be made very soon. And that is because that tight consolidation will be occurring under a massive resistance level. For IREN's case, that massive resistance level is that macro descending resistance level, this trend line here seen on the daily time frame and on this weekly time frame as well, by the way. And again, we're in the weekly, but again, I'm pointing out the daily time frame here. So if a tight inside day candlestick is printed, all the focus on the very next day should be on an entry over that previous inside day's high of day. That is why IREN's entry is going to be 50.10, over 50.10, as it is over that massive descending resistance trend line, and it will most likely be over a presumed inside day candlestick's high of day. So once this entry is made and the price is able to break out of the tight Momo bull flag and the massive macro wedge chart pattern that has been made here on the daily and weekly time frame, okay, again, right here and right here, these two trend lines make up this massive wedge, okay, we should see buyers absorbing the supply over $50. This can send shares skyrocketing on a second leg out towards 52 and 56. All right, so now you guys can understand where we stand with IREN for this week and potentially the next few weeks. Okay, now with all the information absorbed, hopefully you guys understood that. Okay, we're gonna go over kind of the broader perspective on the company itself, right? IREN Limited, right? So I'm gonna go over kind of the bullish case and the bearish case at the same time. Alright, so first let's begin with the bullish case. So IREN, just like with its peers like CoreWeave and Nebius or Nebius, whatever you guys want to call it. Okay, so ticker symbol CRWV or NBIS respectively. Hey, what's up guys? Hello. For anyone who's just joining in, I just began, so you guys can, well, you guys really didn't miss too much. I just read what's on the screen here, what you guys should be able to see on your screen. So, but again, just make sure you guys watch the replay if you guys are just joining in, and of course, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. All right. So, for IREN, again, like its peers, CRWV and NBIS. It's a major data center play, right? It's one of those companies that are providing a lot of that computing power through its data centers that's building for larger tech companies, right? They're making these and concocting these contracts for years to come to provide that power that these big tech companies need to build and train their own in-house LLMs or large language models, right? So for IREN specifically, okay, this one initially got a lot of attention when it made a huge deal with Microsoft, right? So I believe they secured nearly a $10 billion deal where IREN's specific GPU cloud services is basically quote unquote rented out to Microsoft, right? And again, IREN is one of those companies that are kind of shifting away from being a cryptocurrency miner, specifically a Bitcoin miner, and it has essentially adopted this hybrid business model. Right, and again, it's the same story as it is with a lot of other smaller crypto miners out there, right? So these companies have a lot of unusable power with the GPUs, the GPU miners, especially when Bitcoin is in a large downtrend. You know, they don't really have any reason to mine Bitcoin. And again, they usually lose a lot of money trying to mine Bitcoin when Bitcoin is in a downward spiral. It costs a lot more in utility price, right? Well, utility costs to try to mine Bitcoin. So these companies, what ended up happening is that as the AI industry began to broaden out and burgeon, they began to shift and focus more of their GPU power on their mining centers to lease out or rent out to big companies that need that type of computing power. Again, specifically GPU computing power. Okay, and so these companies are now exploring this hybrid landscape for their business model, and they're starting to actually build specific AI-centered data centers, right? And IREN itself, they're specifically focusing on liquid-cooled data centers, and I believe they have one, if I remember from my quick research, in Texas, I think. I don't remember exactly the city, but it's in Texas, and it's a massive liquid-cooled data center facility. Okay. And overall, based on this new data center facility and with this Microsoft deal, analysts are very bullish on this company just from its revenue growth projections alone. All right, so I believe from its most recent reviews by analysts, they're projecting a revenue growth of over I think 2.5 billion, 3 billion. Yeah, it was 3 billion in 2027. Right, that's over $1 billion from the expectations from this year. All right, and not only that. Okay, not only that, it has I think it has 80 to 90% of its power capacity remains available for other big tech companies to actually rent out and quote unquote lease. Right, and so that fact alone gives a lot of leeway for IREN to have even larger revenue projections, because again, this is just based off of what I've just shown you guys, and what I've just what I've just said here about the revenue projections is not counting for future big tech deals. Yes, we do have other major data centers, right? But if IREN is able to continue to maintain a leading position in the AI data center industry, there's a good chance that IREN will be able to lease out and rent out about at least a good chunk of that 80 to 90% of its power capacity. All right, so there's a lot of room for growth. Okay, now I think for IREN, it's also has just like with any other major data center company right now, it does have connections to NVIDIA. All right, I mean, they're using NVIDIA GPUs. All right, again, they're using NVIDIA's that new Blackwell chip, right, and the overall Blackwell architecture that NVIDIA, I believe, rolled out last year, if I remember. I think mid last year or early last year. I think so. I think my memory should be serving me well. So just around last year, NVIDIA rolled out its kind of its overall idea and architecture and structure of how they're going to be manufacturing and delivering Blackwell, right? And so IREN here is using that Blackwell architecture and overall NVIDIA's GPUs. Okay, and again, that's not really different from any other data centers out there, or any hybrid companies like IREN that are both using Bitcoin mining and data center hybrid models, right? So I think for IREN here, it's hard to be extremely bearish just because of the projections alone, based on how much power capacity this company has to be able to lease out to other companies, and well, obviously larger tech companies, and even just smaller companies that are starting to really become competitive in this AI industry, in this AI space, right? This very, very quickly growing AI space. And so what's also interesting is that there's been rumors about quantum, right? Quantum-backed data centers, right? And that's another shift that IREN here can actually make as well, because they have the knowledge to be able to quickly deliver on power and high computing power at that as well, HPC, right? Or high performance computing power, right? So, I think IREN definitely has what it takes to become a formidable player in this space, even though if you guys have watched my previous video on CRWV and NBIS, where I kind of go over the differences between those two, I still believe CRWV and NBIS is a more lucrative and more of a quote-unquote safer high growth option compared to IREN. But again, even if IREN is considered the underdog, there's still a lot of room for growth for this company. Does that make sense? Okay, so now let's talk about the bearish side now that I've kind of focused on the growth side of IREN, which is again the most bullish thing to do is take a look at the growth side of these hybrid data centers, because again that's the only thing that you can really look at, right? So with all this growth, there has to be a negative opposite reaction. Okay, and I've talked about this in depth with CRWV and NBIS as well. So these companies burn a lot of cash, and a lot of them don't have a lot of cash runaway, right? Runaway cash, right? And IREN is still not profitable, just like with any other company, especially these Bitcoin miners turning into hybrid data centers, right? So they are losing money, okay? And they're trying to limit the losses there. However, due to the amount of debt that they have, because again, they're these companies that are shifting and pivoting away from being solely a Bitcoin miner company and into data centers, they're leveraging debt. Right? They're taking on debt to grow. They're leveraging debt to expand and grow the company. Right? So there's a lot of high debt to ratio, debt to equity ratios out there for a lot of these companies. Okay, and even the free cash flow is practically non-existent. Any type of positive free cash flow is going to be very hard to come by with any of these hybrid data centers or hybrid companies. So that's something that you guys should be seeing throughout any of these hybrid data centers. Okay, now with a lot of companies like this, so like IREN, it's, to me personally, the bearish case is that I don't think these companies will ever give up on mining crypto, right? Even if the overall costs of mining crypto slowly go up, which has been going up in the past 2 to 3 years, I don't think they'll ever give it up. And even if they're losing money, right? This is just the core business that they've built their company around it, right? And it'll be a pretty huge bet for these companies to try to completely forget on, or completely take out that part of their business and just solely focus on being a data center company. And I think that's the reason why a lot of these hybrid companies have chosen to be just that, hybrid companies, right? Because at some times, at some points of when I'm reading these earnings from these hybrid companies, I'm always just scratching my head as to why they are not giving up on becoming on solidifying their position as a Bitcoin mining company and just going all in to these AI data centers. And I think that's one of the largest red flags for me. That's a huge red flag actually, that these companies aren't willing to go all in into the AI data center play. Because they might know something, right? They're saying that yes, the demand is there, but what will happen when the demand actually is still there, but costs continue to rise sharply, right? And if that continues to occur, which has been slowly occurring the past couple of months, okay, especially when it comes to electricity prices, okay, a little wink wink there, right? I've talked about this for the overall utility sector as well, based on the rising energy costs. There might be less deals that are made. So that is my overall bearish perspective on them, because if these data center companies are going to be seeing longer term contracts with bigger companies, because these big companies are realizing that it's not worth shelling out billions of dollars for a contract, then these companies won't do well, right? They know that, I definitely think that they know the costs and the risk at stake here, the risk that they're making here, right? When it comes to becoming a hybrid company, and I think that's the reason why they're not giving up on becoming more of a Bitcoin mining company or just a crypto mining company. Okay, so hopefully you guys understood what I'm saying there, right? There's a reason why they're trying to make, or at least some of them are trying to focus on their core business, which is the Bitcoin mining business, but they're also touching the waters with their toes is what I was saying, right? They're dipping their toes there in the AI data center space, because they know it's lucrative, but they also understand that it's kind of it's a house of cards, right? If one domino falls, the next domino will fall as well, or multiple dominoes may fall once that first domino falls, right? And so even if demand is there for AI, okay, if costs continue to rise, companies will eventually stop the crazy amount of deals that we've seen given out to these hybrid data centers. Does that make sense? All right, so that is my bearish perspective on IREN, right? Obviously, the fact that the fact of the matter of this company being unprofitable, and the fact that they're burning a hell of a lot of cash, even if they could have, well, first of all, these contracts that are in the billions, right? They're worth billions. We don't know if IREN or any other data center company will be able to fulfill what's in the contract, right? If they're able to provide the amount of power, the megawatt power that these larger tech companies are demanding from these hybrid data centers. Does that make sense? Okay, so that is essentially my perspective, my bearish perspective and take on data centers and IREN, and kind of my reasons why IREN could not go to $100 per share, because that would be a very overblown market cap for this company, right? Now, overall, analysts are not expecting $100 per share as well. Okay, I believe I don't remember exactly the average profit target for IREN is. Actually, let me see. Now I don't really pay attention to what analysts say about the profit targets, their own PTs for a particular company. It's not showing up here. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So the average price target is only $73.30, with a high forecast of $125 and a low forecast of $36. Okay, so again, I'm just looking at the average. That's what you want to be focusing on and honing in on, and it's only at $73 and some change. So again, the only reason why I'm focusing on what analysts are saying here is that usually analysts are very active on these very sensitive and volatile growth companies and growth story companies. Again, I'm saying it's a story because this could potentially end up, blowing up, right? These hybrid data centers could end up blowing up because, for example, what happens if, again, what I've just told you guys about, that entire risk with AI data centers and these companies risking a lot of their money to build out these data centers for bigger companies, right? What happens if these companies just aren't able to fulfill the power that these tech companies are expecting and demanding from these data centers? Okay, well, if that happens, okay, everything's gonna blow up, right? That's essentially what I'm trying to tell you guys here, right? There's no saving these type of companies when that happens, because simultaneously there could also be a huge downturn in crypto prices as well. And if crypto prices continue to go lower while utility costs continue to go up, right, it also won't be profitable or lucrative to mine Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana, any of the leading companies, right? Because again, maybe even gas prices might be high for mining. So I'm just trying to carefully choose my words here as to not anger the bearish or bullish people out there on IREN, especially if you guys are expecting IREN to reach $100 or even, again, the high forecast of $125, like the analysts are expecting for the high price target, right? The maximum forecast profit target or price target of IREN, okay? But again, I think it's a good idea to take a look at this from two different perspectives. You just can't have a long bias specifically or a short bias specifically. All right, you guys have to have this good balance between having a good perspective on the bull thesis and the bear thesis. Does that make sense? Okay, I see your guys' reactions there. Okay, all right, awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, so again, yeah, so for IREN here, technically now, all right, so now, yeah, let's pivot to the technicals now. All right, so the reason why we are bullish in the short to mid-term perspective, a little asterisk there, okay? There's a reason why we are bullish short term, just like I've explained. Initially, when the stream started, what I've written up there, I don't think I need to show you guys that again, okay? Right. So this is the daily time frame for IREN, and right now it's acting in a very nice manner. So today, it had a very nice consolidation day where ideally it was able to stay above this daily resistance level at $47, which is now a new support level. It was a previous resistance level, but now it's a new support level. And it was able to retest that massive descending resistance trend line that makes up that overall macro wedge, which I've shown you guys on the weekly time frame. And it was able to come back down and stay within this range here. And again, that $50 level is that entry point that we want to take. Okay, so it was able to consolidate between $50 and $47, which is absolutely on point for a perfect consolidation day. And again, the reason why we wanted to see this is that, well, based on the closing price to the daily 10 SMA's closing price, right? We are slowly closing that gap between the daily 10 SMA and the closing price, right? It was a lot lower here. I think it was about like 13% on Sunday night, or I think like 12.50% to be more accurate, right? And now it's sitting at around 11% from today's closing price to today's daily 10 SMA's closing price, right? And we want to see that percentage or that difference percentage less than 10%. So tomorrow, if you're able to get another tighter inside day candlestick, right underneath this massive macro descending trend line, this resistance trend line, I think we're in for a good potential trade setup over $50 to give us that next second leg up higher. And again, the first leg up higher has already occurred right here. Right? And this is the reason why we want to be involved in this name, because again, there is a smaller bull flag, a Momo bull flag, or what we like to call a momentum-filled bull flag that also coincides and converges with this macro wedge chart pattern that you can clearly see on the weekly time frame. Right? So if I were to be extremely bullish, right, I would say that IREN can at least minimum retest the current all-time high area, which also happens to be around the average analyst's price target, right? The midline price target from analysts, which is $73. Does that make sense? right? So I would honestly just go with the analyst's profit target or price target here of $73, because again, that's basically in the midline area of that previous all-time high retests that the price had on this weekly candlestick and on this weekly candlestick as well. Right, so these two, right? So, you know, if we were to break out this massive wedge here, all right, for weeks and months to come, I wouldn't be surprised if we were to go past $70 and eventually hit that that midpoint price target set by analysts. Does this make sense? Okay, so again, hopefully I didn't confuse you guys with my kind of breakdown of the bullish and bearish thesis or cases for IREN. Again, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Again, there's a lot of risk at play here, and there's a lot of sensitivity to these companies, because again, this is a very quickly growing industry that can become toppled by one specific factor. Again, just like I've told you guys before, it's a house of cards, right? One domino falls or one card falls, the rest of the cards will fall, right? So again, yes, the bullish projections are absolutely amazing. The growth projections seem to be endless, but the bearish perspective and the bearish take on this company can be very much realized, right? It's a very real take on this company, and very much of the other companies like CRWV and IREN, right? Like NBIS, excuse me, right? IREN's peers. Okay, but thankfully, IREN is basically the quote-unquote underdog compared to the leaders like CRWV and NBIS. And I am saying it's underdog because I have seen some analysts write-ups on this company where they believe that the tech behind this company that is currently making the data centers are less quote-unquote superior. And that's exactly what I read. It's less superior compared to what companies like CRWV and NBIS are building when it comes to data centers and providing the HPC capacity that these large tech companies require. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the reason why I'm saying it's an underdog, right? Now, I don't really know the exact specifics of the technological perspective or technological take, because I'm not really invested in that. I'm just focused on the overall perspective of what this company is doing, and obviously I'm able to understand what the hybrid data business model that these companies are taking, right? And the reason why this could be a very risky move, especially when they're so leveraged, and also they're leveraging actual debt to grow. Okay, so yes, that's a usual behavior from growth companies. I understand that, but these companies were already losing money when they were mining crypto, specifically Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana. Okay, so keep that in mind, all right? Again, keep that house of cards analogy in mind when it comes to these specifically hybrid data centers. All right, well, actually, let me catch myself there. Okay, let me choose my words carefully here before I speak. Let me choose it very, very carefully. Most likely, if and when the AI bubble pops, we'll be seeing these hybrid data center companies moving sharply down first. That's it. Just remember that. Okay? Take those words to heart, okay? But don't take it too seriously. That's just my very out there prediction, is what I would say. Okay, so again, I'm just choosing my words carefully. But based on what I've read so far on these hybrid data center companies, if the AI bubble pops, these companies will go first. And you guys have heard that here first. Okay, so if you guys are trying to build short positions, yeah, sometime soon, maybe by the end of this year or next year, wink wink. I sound funny saying all these things. You guys should probably look at these hybrid data center companies. But for now, we will be bullish based on the technicals alone and based on the growth projections that are absolutely amazing. Okay? So please don't come after me, right? When I'm saying all these potential bearish takes on a company like IREN. I know it's a very popular hybrid data center stock and company, so just remember what I'm saying. Okay? I'm keeping it real here. Right? I'm keeping it real so that you guys don't become extremely invested or you guys don't leverage into one single position in your portfolio using IREN. Okay? Alright, but again, technically guys, this is looking extremely good. I mean, this has been consolidating since October of last year, right? So it's been months, a months long macro chart pattern has formed, this wedge chart pattern, and it's at the cusp of potentially breaking out. Does that make sense? So hopefully you guys weren't confused with my wording initially in this stream. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not being too bullish or too bearish, right? I think there's going to be a time to be extremely bullish in a short to mid-term perspective and also extremely bearish from a short to mid-term perspective. But for now, strictly from a technical perspective, we are very bullish from a short to mid-term perspective. Does that clear things up a little bit? Okay, I see you guys' reactions. Hey, do nothing, what's up? Yes, awesome. Okay, so yeah, that's it for IREN. Okie doke. Alright, okie dokie. So let's go over the next ticker that I want to take a look at. Okay, and this is in this week's CFO Swinger Watch Report's list as well. All right, I'm actually gonna go over this ticker. Yeah, this ticker only, and that'll be it for this stream. Okay, I'm actually very hungry. I gotta eat some dinner, guys. I am human after all. I'm not a robot. There's a lot of people who have asked me if I'm a robot because I'm really pushing out these trade ideas and really being able to catch these really nice A+ technical trade setups. I'm just trying to pat myself on the back, guys. Okay, so the ticker that I want to go over that is in this week's list is FIGR. Okay, so I've actually gone over this company specifically on a video here on this channel months ago. So try to find that video. It shouldn't be too far away. Just scroll down on my video, on my videos tab on my channel, and you guys will see it. Okay, right? Or it might be on my lives tab. Anyways, so FIGR. All right. So initially, this one caught my attention because of a pretty unusual options activity, a UOA, that I also mentioned in the report. So if any of my readers are watching this now, make sure you guys go back to the actual report and see what I've written there. But let me quickly go over what I've written here verbatim as well. So with the short interest percentage that has decreased from plus 15% in March to 8% now, which is again very good, there's a real chance for bulls to start seeing this ticker moving back higher. And the reason why, as a side note guys, the reason why we want to see, well, I'm saying that this short interest percentage decrease is good is that, well, whenever short interest hits 10% or lower, there is a good chance for longer term investors to come back into the stock, right? It's a metric that a lot of long-term investors tend to use, especially technical ones, right? They use technical analysis to make an entry, and then obviously they will go towards a more fundamental perspective to hold on to that position after that entry is made. Does that make sense? I really hope that made sense. Okay, that made sense. Awesome, right? So that's the reason why I'm saying that this decrease from plus 15% to 8% now is pretty good, right? It's a pretty good vote of confidence for bulls to try to get into the stock, especially the long-term investors, after coming back down to basically the IPO range. Okay, all right, and so it's been consolidating at the low range of the IPO range, the IPO base that we saw. And again, I also made this a trade idea back in I think it was in early December. Yeah, I noted this very nice IPO base forming, which again, when we have large bases that are being formed, especially long ones, and this is essentially a very long IPO basis. It's about 3 months here. Okay, that's a pretty good A+ technical chart pattern or chart setup, right? Because usually when such a consolidation phase occurs in a very volatile IPO, we tend to have a massive price discovery phase where it just stretches its valuation. And what I mean by that is, well, this occurs, right? This is where that stretching of valuation occurs, right? Where the price just absolutely skyrockets into new all-time highs, right? And that's exactly what FIGR did. Okay, but now it created this mountain peak and smashed right back down to the ground, right back down to earth, and it's been able to consolidate around that IPO basis lows. And thankfully, I was able to catch this over the weekend. It's forming that tight potential Momo bull flag right over this $36 resistance level. Okay, so that was a very long tangent, but let me go right back to what I was saying here. Okay, yeah, right here. So I said, plus with crypto related takers taking off, which I also mentioned last week in the CFO Discord, in the private CFO Discord chat room. Okay, high risk takers like this, which is involved in both stablecoin and tokenization technologies, can start moving higher as well. And quite the perfect timing as well, since the price has formed a nice 2-month base chart pattern from 31 right here to 36. Okay, that 34 support level shown here, right, in green, is the line in the sand level that bulls have to hold in order to sustain the current new uptrend it has begun, right? It's been making higher highs and higher lows, which is, again, a textbook uptrend. All right, now what's interesting is that this may be a nice hold, a long-term hold, if the bond markets look to churn out lower bond prices and higher yields. And that makes sense because, again, in the bond markets, bond prices have an inverse relationship with yields. All right, so if bond prices are moving up, yields are going down. If bond prices are moving down, yields are going up. Does it make sense? All right, so in this company, right, if bond prices are going down, which it has been, yields should be going up, right? And if you remember, the first time I went over this company, again, I've also, before I began this analysis on this name and this review, I told you guys that I did a full breakdown on this company on a live or an actual video. I believe it was a live actually. So again, once the stream is done, if you guys are interested in figuring out what figure, see what I did there? Figuring out what FIGR Technology Solutions does, all right? Just check out the channel, right, and go to that live tab and just scroll down. All right, it shouldn't be too far away. Okay, so this company basically has a stable coin called YLDS. It's spelling out yields, basically, right? Which is backed up by US treasuries. So this is quite different compared to other stable coins like USDC, which is backed up by the US dollar, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. USD, right? But this one is backed up by US treasury. So it's closely tied to the yields, right? The yield market and the bond market. So with the current high yield environment, right, the company's revenue has been benefiting from the overall net interest income from this yield-bearing stablecoin, and should continue to do so into the end of this year, right? Because again, we're most likely not going to be seeing rate cuts, right? Multiple rate cuts this year, which was sort of expected a couple months ago, and even just early last year. But now everything has changed, right? So, you know, I think this company will continue again to benefit from that overall net interest income that it will take in from its yield-bearing stablecoin. All right, and then I also said in the technicals, the price should find more supply at the major resistance level of $40, but if it can absorb all these sellers above this specific whole number level at $40, price can squeeze right to that 46 resistance level, this whole number resistance level, which was a significant level during the IPO trading days. And you guys can see that, this red line here, right? If I just go all the way back, right? So this is the major resistance level that allowed prices to absolutely squeeze up higher and start that price discovery phase after a nice consolidation phase during its entire IPO trading action. Okay, and again, this price discovery phase is what allowed the company to really stretch its valuation, and obviously it re-rated itself by smashing back down due to overall market conditions, and obviously with overall crypto markets coming down as well around the same time here, the same time period here. Okay, from January to early March. Does that make sense? Okay, I think my audio is still doing great. Alright guys, you guys can still hear me? Please give me a thumbs up in the chat room. Anyone? Or even the emojis are fine. Okay, I think I saw some reactions there. Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you. Thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. Alright, so that's kind of my review for FIGR. I'm also in this one currently, so I do have a bullish bias. Alright. Again, I really like the fact that the daily 10 SMA here has crossed over both my 21 and 50. Alright, that's the key indicator there last Wednesday. And the daily 21 SMA after today's price action is slowly creeping up to a decreasing and curling downward daily 50 SMA. So you want this daily 50 SMA to sharply curl downward, while this daily 21 SMA right here, right, continues to curl up higher, right, and eventually cross over this daily 50 SMA. And that will give us a very good indication that the short to mid-term trend is still to the upside. All right. Now, as a bonus, the UOA that I mentioned earlier, that I was able to capture over the weekend is, okay, let me make sure I get this right. Let me actually give you guys the position that I'm actually currently in. Okay. It's the 37 strike call contract that expires next week. All right, so May 1st. All right, so there's not a lot of time, but at least it's a very at the money contract. In fact, it was at the money at the highs of today. So at $37.31, that was the high of today. So if it's able to break over the high today, of today, tomorrow, there's a good chance we can actually explode higher for the next second leg up towards this $40 whole number level. All right, we will want to see this $40 whole number level acting as a large magnet for price to come up to. Does that make sense? All right, so very easy technical analysis here for this name. All right, and again, don't forget the overall long-term thesis as well for this company, right? Especially when you're taking a look at this from its stablecoin perspective and its tokenization perspective. So if you guys didn't know, a lot of big bank and big institutions are really heavily focused and invested into the tokenization of everything. All right, so they're trying to turn real-world physical assets into digital assets. All right, that's what tokenization is. If you guys don't know what that is, just do a quick Google search. Right, it's a very easy thing to understand. Yes, the actual technology behind it could be complicated, but thankfully the overall quote-unquote experiment is what I would say with blockchain technologies since Bitcoin came out has advanced enough to where tokenization technologies have become very advanced very quickly as well, right? So institutions like BlackRock and Blackstone have really begun an effort to quote-unquote tokenize everything. Okay, now I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do know there are a lot of good positives as the world increasingly becomes more connected through these blockchain technologies and these tokenization technologies as well. Okay. All right, that's the reason why I think FIGR is definitely a candidate for a long-term position. And obviously, even just based off the fact that this company has a stable coin, that's amazing in itself, which is backed up by US treasuries, right? Unlike every other stable coin that is backed up by the US dollar, like USDC, right? That's a cryptocurrency or a stable coin, right? USDC. All right, so yeah, that is it for tonight, guys. Wow, it's I've been live for almost an hour here, but hopefully you guys were able to get my side on why I think IREN could or could not reach $100 per share. Again, we have to be looking at these hybrid data centers, these high growth, high risk companies from both a bearish and bullish perspective. So please don't come after me if you guys have a very, very strong bias to either side. All right, I think you guys should have more of a balanced perspective when it comes to these hybrid data centers. Okay, but yeah, that is it for tonight, guys. I will be live again at the same time at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. We are right back to the regular schedule for our live streams on this Charts Focus 1 YouTube channel. All right. Hey, good day. What's up? You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So hopefully you guys were able to learn something tonight. And if you guys did, hopefully it becomes applicable information in the near term and long term future. And if that is indeed the case, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you guys are new here, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out all my other live streams and videos, because I know they're the same, very, very informational and very much applicable as well. And one last thing, if you guys want to become a reader of the CFO Swinger Watch Report, okay, I really think that you guys can really be it can be a very huge benefit to add the report in your weekly lives. And the reason why I say your weekly lives is that, well, I send this report out every single Sunday night. And here's what I will do. If you guys are interested, the ball's in your court. I will give you guys an example of the report by sending you guys a free copy of this week's report, okay, to check it out, right? Just to simply check it out. And if it doesn't interest you, then that's fine after you guys read it. But I can 100% guarantee you guys that if you guys just try it out for a month, you will learn something for sure. I can 1000% guarantee you guys you will learn something, okay? And this is information that you guys will be able to actually handle, comprehend, and memorize. All right, it's not something that it's going to be a fleeting thing. I make sure what I write down is very easy to comprehend and very easy to digest, so that you guys are able to memorize it for the short, mid, and long-term time frame. Okay? All right. That is it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Good luck tomorrow, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday night.